So we've got this framework, we've got all of this information about what functions are, how they work, how to recognize them, how to evaluate them graphically. And we want to be able to do math with them too. So let's call this using functions to do math. And maybe we'll look at the graphical version of this first. So maybe I should switch to a graph background. Alright, here we go. So if I've got a function that looks like this, so x-axis, y-axis, we're still going to stick with one box is 1 unit. So this is 1, this is 1. And maybe I've got a function that looks like this, and this does count as a function. I know it's got sharp corners and everything. It does count as a function because it passes my vertical line test, right? There's nowhere that I can put a vertical line that it passes through more than one point. So this is a function. We're going to call this one f of x. And maybe what I want to do is I want to evaluate graphically 4 times f of 2 minus 1. And this starts to look a little bit intimidating, right? But maybe it's not going to be so bad. F of 2, that thing is just a value. And it's a value that I'm getting based off of this function. I have a function for f of x graphically. 2 is what's inside my parentheses. It's the argument of my function. That's what that's called, the argument. So my input value is x equals 2. When I plug in x equals 2, I am right here. So x equals 1, 2. I'm going to grab the y value off of that, and it is right there. That is at y equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So f of 2, this whole box, I'm going to replace with 5. So I'm going to get 4 times 5, putting it in purple so that you see where it's coming from, minus 1. 4 times 5, that's 20, minus 1, that gives me 19. That's how I'm going to use this function to do the math. Now what if I have a second function on here too? Right? What if I have a function that looks like this? Close this menu. I have a function that looks like this. And I call this thing g of x. So now I can read two different values off of here. Maybe I want to evaluate four times f of 2 plus g of 3 minus 1. I'm going to do the same thing. F of 2, that's a value. G of 3, that's a value. So both of those are boxes that I can find. F of 2, I'm using that one just because I already had it, and I'm going to circle it, right? G of 3, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 for x, because again, this is my x value, right? X equals 3. And I want to read the g value off of this. So 1, 2, 3, g is my red line, so that happens at 1.5. I'm looking at this point right here. So what I get is 4 times f of 2 was 5 plus g of 3 is 1.5, so 3 halves, minus 1. 5 is 10 halves. 10 halves plus 3 halves, that's 13 halves. So I get 4 times 13 over 2 minus 1. 4 times 13 over 2, that's 26. So this is 26 minus 1 equals 25. I had this goofy looking function to start with. 4 times f of 2 plus g of 3 all -1, but it's not as bad as it looks, right? The f of 2 was a box, the g of 3 was a box, and I'm just grabbing the values out of that.